Welcome to the final hurdle. You are staring down your comprehensive law exams, and the margin for error is zero. The pressure is on to demonstrate a precise command of the brand new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. Examiners look for candidates who have processed the specific technical shifts between the old Indian Penal Code and the BNS. Look at this actual exam paper. Question 4.1 asks you to explain the classic distinction. All murders are culpable homicide, but all culpable homicide are not murder. The examiner expects you to apply the precise statutory probability thresholds distinguishing these offenses. To meet that standard, we are going to analyze the four critical pillars of Chapter VI: homicide, negligence, hurt, and lawful guardianship. Success in the exam hall depends on your ability to identify the exact legal boundaries that escalate a minor offense into a major crime. This diagram illustrates the relationship between Section 100, culpable homicide, and Section 101, murder. Murder sits entirely inside the broader culpable homicide category. Every murder is a culpable homicide, but not the reverse. The core threshold for culpable homicide rests on probability. If an act causes an injury that is merely likely to cause death, a statistical possibility often viewed at roughly 60%, it falls into this broader category. Murder carries a higher burden of proof. Section 101 requires the act to be sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to cause death. The probability marker here pushes past 99%, making death an almost guaranteed outcome. The landmark case R versus Govinda provides the physical application. A single punch resulting in a fatal fall is likely to cause death, qualifying as culpable homicide. Repeated, severe blunt force trauma to the head is sufficient in the ordinary course of nature to kill, which defines the act as murder. Under Section 101, Exception 1 allows an act to be classified as culpable homicide rather than murder if the defendant acted under grave and sudden provocation. The KM Nanavati case defines the strict limits of this defense. If there is a cooling-off period between the provocation and the killing, allowing time for the defendant to plan or retrieve a weapon, the defense of provocation is legally void. Legally, murder is distinguished from culpable homicide by a higher statistical certainty of death and a lack of valid statutory excuses. We move now to Section 106, covering death caused by a rash or negligent act where the murderous intent found in Sections 100 or 101 is absent. This flowchart breaks down a highly tested new provision, Section 106, Clause 2, the hit-and-run law. The offense requires three sequential elements: rash driving, a resulting death, and the act of escaping the scene. Look at the escape scene box. This is a strict liability trigger. The maximum penalty is activated by the physical act of fleeing without reporting the incident to a police officer or magistrate soon after the occurrence. Failing to meet this reporting requirement results in a severe penalty escalation, leading to 10 years of imprisonment and a fine. Section 106, Clause 2, shifts legal culpability away from the initial driving error, focusing heavy punishment on the subsequent failure to assist. In our analysis of bodily offenses, Section 114 defines simple hurt as causing bodily pain or disease. Section 116 introduces the more severe category of grievous hurt. Notice Section 116, Clause H. It contains a specific requirement regarding the duration of severe bodily pain. While the old Indian Penal Code required 20 days, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita sets the standard at 15 days of severe pain or inability to follow ordinary pursuits. Accuracy on this point is essential for full marks. The BNS also addresses specific chemical injuries. Section 124 now codifies acid attacks as a severe, standalone offense, separate from general hurt statutes. This codification reflects the ruling in Laxmi versus Union of India. That case established mandatory life imprisonment as a potential sentence and required that fines be paid directly to the victim to cover medical expenses. The BNS defines physical pain through precise temporal and chemical criteria, which limits judicial ambiguity during sentencing. This split-screen comparison illustrates our final pillar. On the left, Section 137 defines kidnapping as an offense against lawful guardianship. Because this involves a minor, their consent is legally irrelevant to the charge. On the right side, Section 138 covers abduction. This applies to adult victims and requires the prosecution to prove that the perpetrator used actual force or deceitful means. The case of S. Varadarajan versus State of Madras tests the exact limits of this guardianship boundary. The court distinguished between taking or enticing a minor, which constitutes an offense, and merely allowing a willing minor to abandon their guardianship without active solicitation from the accused. The victim's age determines the specific legal actions, such as enticing versus forcing, the prosecution must substantiate to secure a conviction. The overarching logic of Chapter VI is proportional scaling. The BNS 2023 scales punishments based on intent, the statistical probability of harm, and the specific method used. When drafting a 12-mark response, follow this 4-step checklist. Start with the statutory definition, isolate the core ingredient or threshold, identify any legal exceptions, and conclude with the relevant case law. High-level exam performance is built on identifying the exact legal boundaries that differentiate one offense from another. The overarching logic of Chapter VI is proportional scaling. The BNS 2023 scales punishments based on intent, the statistical probability of harm, and the specific method used. When drafting a 12-mark response, follow this 4-step checklist. Start with the statutory definition, isolate the core ingredient or threshold, identify any legal exceptions, and conclude with the relevant case law. Ultimately, high-level exam performance is built on identifying the exact legal boundaries that differentiate one offense from another.